Alright, today we're going to be installing another light bar. This is a 22-inch LED light bar manufactured by Mictuning, okay? This is the one I was originally going to mount behind the grill on my Sierra, but I ended up going with a 32-inch straight. This one's got a slight radius curve to it. I'm not sure if you can see it. We'll take another closer look at it here in a minute. But I thought that would be great on the brute force here. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at it, and then we'll start installing it. Alright, so this Mictuning LED light bar certainly seems like a quality product. It's all metal construction. It's got some large cooling fins on the back here to keep it cool. Comes with metal brackets, some rubber mounts to help with the vibration. It comes with this LED-backed rocker switch. I'm not sure that I'll use it on this installation, but it's great that it comes with it. And it actually says LED light bar right on it, which is kind of cool. Obviously the mounting hardware, some electrical connectors, comes with a couple of fuses, and a good length of wire for the wiring harness. So you should be able to install this in your truck, your Jeep, your car, your UTV, your ATV, you name it. It should be ready to go. Alright, let's go ahead and see how we're going to mount it. Alright, for this project I actually purchased these rack mounts, okay? I got them on eBay. They're $12 a set. They come with different bushings to help you mount on different diameter bars, okay? These brackets would work fine if I want the light bar anywhere on top of the rack. In fact, I was thinking back here would not be too bad. But because it's such a large light bar, I kind of want it out of the way a little bit. I don't really want it sticking up. I want to be able to use my front rack when we go on long trips. So let me adjust my camera here. I'm thinking right there is where I want it. And the problem is the brackets really don't line up with the LED brackets when I have it sitting out front like this, okay? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mock it up. I'm going to utilize these brackets, but I'm going to have to fabricate something after, you know, to make it more permanent. That'll allow us to move on with the installation. We'll get it wired up. You'll see where it's going to be, and then I'll come back and revisit the mounts afterwards, okay? All right, let's take a quick look. I do like the placement of it. That's where the brackets are. You can see they're right in the neighborhood of where they need to be. They just don't mate up. So we'll come back and deal with that in a little bit. You really could just take a piece of steel. You can see there's a gap there, as well as over here. You could take a piece of flat steel, come on the back side of this bracket, drill a hole here, drill a hole here, and you're going to run a piece of steel between them. And that would do it. That may be what I end up doing in the end. But we'll come back and visit this in a little bit. Let's get it installed. I like the placement of it. I think it's worth doing this, having it out front. But if you wanted it up front here, those brackets worked fine and they would have just mounted right on the bar here. Okay? Let's go ahead and wire it up. Alright, so I'm going to start by just removing this plastic piece here and seeing how much access we gain. I'm not real keen on drilling any holes in the actual finished plastic. But I don't mind drilling a couple holes in this. So let's go ahead and remove that real quick and see what that allows us access to. Alright, we have a direct line of sight here. You can just shoot right up through here. I'm not sure if you see it on the camera or not. But that's where we're going to feed the wires up through. I could use a coat hanger, but I don't think I'm going to need to. What I'm going to do is just start feeding them in and try to grab them. This wiring harness is pre-wired for 2 sets of lights, or 2 light bars possibly, which is kind of cool. Maybe they use the same wiring harness for fog lights or something. So we could just tape these ones up, or we could use them down the road if we need to, okay? So I'm going to feed the supply through. And just give those a tug to make sure they don't pull off. Alright, we'll come back and clean that all up afterwards. We'll see how we're going to pass through that plastic and everything. Let's move around to the middle section of the wheeler. Okay, so I mentioned earlier that it includes a lot of wire, which is great because it's very versatile in terms of what you can install it in. Truck or a Jeep or a Caravan or whatever, but I'm going to cut some of this out because I don't want to have so much of it coiled up, you know, underneath my plastic. It's just going to rattle around. So I'm going to cut this, splice it together. I'll kind of show you some of it, but I won't show you all of it. Obviously, you want to make sure you leave a little bit of slack, but we don't need this much. Okay, let's go ahead and cut this off and make it a little cleaner. Okay, so let's take a quick look at where I'm at. I'm going to mount the relay sort of back here, out of the way, in this little pocket behind the toolkit. I know other people kind of remove the toolkit, put the relay there, but I've got space right here on the back side of there. I've cut the wires, and I've cut this, but I've left it a little longer. I'm just going to slice it down the side, solder the connections, put shrink tubing on it, and then I'll tape this back up. Now you could just use bullet connectors or even the spade connectors, but I like to solder and use shrink tubing. So that's what we're going to do. All right, let me fire up the soldering iron. Alright, now we need to tie in the power and the ground. For the ground, I think I'm just going to loosen up one of these bolts and slip this little terminal connector right underneath to see if I get a ground on that metal bracket there. If not, I may have to scratch the paint off a little, but we'll see. Well, after we get the power hooked up, we'll be able to hook up a switch and see if it works before we go any further. Alright, for the power, I'm going to come right in here, and it is advisable to unhook your battery before you do this so you don't ground yourself out or ground your tools out, but we're just going to go ahead and see if we can do it. Alright, let's wire up the switch and see if it works. Alright, so if you plan on using the rocker switch that they've provided, they've already kind of pre-splice the wires, and they give you a little diagram and some instructions, which is nice. Okay, so our 2 grounds go at the top here. And when I say 2 grounds, you can see they've sort of spliced it off for you. I'm assuming 1 powers the LED. Okay, and then we've got the white. I'm assuming goes to the light. That goes in the lower corner. And again, this is all provided in terms of instructions. So we're probably going to use a different type of... Oh, I can see right now we're good. And let's go to this one. Okay, that's the way they show it. 2 grounds side by side, red power, and then white to the light. And you can see we have a nice illuminated, constantly illuminated light bar, and then when you light it up, the light bar itself lights up, and of course, we're working. Alright, let's continue on and get this thing finished up. Okay, so I want my switch to be up in this area here, kind of mounted on this plastic that we removed. So I'm going to have to feed the wires for the switch that we just were testing out back up into here. Okay, so I'm going to feed those back up this way, just like we did the other wires. Okay. Okay, so I have my switch wire pulled through, and this is the switch I'm going to use. It's waterproof, and this may be waterproof as well, because on the Mictuning website they do advertise this light bar for boats. So I'm going to use this because also it's just a lot smaller to cut a hole into my plastic. I don't want to cut a big rectangle. I'm just going to drill a 3/4 inch hole for this. I can use these same leads. I just need to identify my positive, which would be this. We want to test it out obviously before we start drilling holes, and we have a light on. Okay. So, and the LED shuts off when it's off as well, which is great. Okay, so I don't know if you can actually see it. Let's check it out. Looks pretty good. Alright, let's go ahead and get it back together, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do with these mounts. Okay, so what I've done is I've just notched out the front a little bit, and I've got to notch it out a little bit more so that this will sit flush with the wire underneath, but I want it to kind of keep the wire from moving around at all. Then I decided I'm going to mount the switch sort of up front a little further than I originally thought, because back here is somewhat curved, and the wheeler comes up back here, and I don't want to have to mess with that at all, okay? So I'm going to have it kind of up here, which is not too far out of the way. I think it's a pretty good spot for it. Alright. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a small hole, and then I'm going to use a step drill bit to bring it up to the size we need. And as I get close, I'll probably stop and then sort of try out the switch. I want to make sure I don't go too large with it, okay? So you can see that's giving me a nice clean hole, and I can kind of go up in steps or increments. And 3/4 on the bit is indicated as being right there, but I'm going to stop a little sooner just to see how we're doing, okay? Okay, so before you mount the switch, I just want to make sure that the boot is on all the way. You can see it's got a little boot here, and that can peel back off from that lip. So you want to make sure that the edge of the boot is over the lip, and then we're going to squeeze it on. You can see these little plastic tabs are going to compress and then provide the the resistance so the switch doesn't fall out, okay? And obviously you want to decide you know, what position you want the switch in. So I'm thinking I'm inclined to say off there and on there. Okay, I don't think that's too bad. I could have mounted it back here, but again, the lip of the wheeler plus this rolls back, so I don't think it'll be bad. Definitely get to it easy enough. I'm just concerned that going through brush and so forth, it may get toggled on. But if that's a problem, I can plug that and move it. Alright, let's get this back together and then see how we can get that mounted. I'll just show you real quick back here. Everything's nice and clean. Can barely see the wires at all. I ran all the wires underneath existing wires as much as possible, and so yeah, I need to hook that switch up and get this mounted, and then we'll take a look at that. Alright, so I was able to use these brackets. I just had to notch out the corner a little bit. I used my air cutter. You can use a grinder or a Dremel. It doesn't meet up exactly flush, so one side is closer than the other. So for that reason, I didn't tighten it down all the way because I didn't want to snap the brackets, okay? But everything seems to be nice and tight. And what we're going to do is wait for it to get dark outside and go outside and test it out. Alright. Alright, so it's pretty dark out. I'm going to hit the lows right now. Let's hit the high beam. Now let's hit the light bar. What a difference, huh? I think that blue toggle looks awesome too. It's right above the key, so I think that's a good placement for that toggle switch. Mictuning. You got to check them out. I got a link to this light bar right down below. Thanks for watching. Give me that thumbs up if you found this helpful. The process I covered in this video, it's going to be the same or similar on a lot of other ATVs, UTVs. So go ahead and leave questions and comments below. And hit that subscribe button if you want to see more of this type of stuff. And thanks for watching. Have fun. And I'm going to tear down the rest of this untraveled trail with my new light bar. Thanks for watching.